David Levin. We're going to be hearing a lot about education in the next 18 months as the presidential election drags on. As CEO of McGraw-Hill Education, what do you think the most critical issue really is?
Greg, there's a very big issue, and it's about graduation rates and the consequent failure because so many people fail to graduate, linked to it the amount of debt that students have got. So those two things relate to one another very intimately. That's the heart of the education issue.
And you're transforming McGraw-Hill Education from a textbook publisher to a learning sciences company. Tell me what that means and how far you are into the process.
Well, it's a very exciting process, a very important one. The old business model was sell a book like that and it's done. Now, however, we're able to sell a piece of software which contains the content, the pedagogy, all wrapped together, woven together as one, and that reacts to the individual student. So we're actually delivering that sort of the wonderful thing of personalized learning, helping an individual student, each one individually, each one separately, and with that we can impact outcomes. And the heart of that is what we call learning science, which is really thinking about or implementing how people learn and helping them learn faster and better. So
how is that with regard to open learning, which is something I keep hearing about when it comes to McGraw-Hill Education?
Well, that's very much a part of the strategy. Again, what we're looking at is saying we want an instructor, a teacher to be able to incorporate content from many places. So what we've got is an engine, a very thoughtful, adaptive piece of software which is responding to how the student is interacting with the software. But we want the instructor to be able to bring in third-party content, their own content if they want, and for our adaptive engine to keep working with it. And so when people talk about openness in this context, that's what they mean.
But what about the hardware? So how would a school district deal with putting your software? Does it have to be an Apple? Does it have to be a Samsung? Because a lot of the purchasing gets done at the municipal level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course it's different between K-12 and in higher ed. But from our perspective, we're device agnostic. Indeed, I think a lot of the debate gets caught up on the device, which is really quite strange because the only certainty is that 2 or 3 years down the road, your devices are out of date. But the learning, the software is going to keep going.
And does this keep costs down? Is that the ultimate goal for the school districts? Because clearly costs are spiraling out of control and school districts want to keep the cost down.
Yeah, and again, let me separate K-12, the school districts, from higher ed. The biggest issue in cost is in the higher ed side, where college fees have been going up and graduation rates are so low. So on our side, we're doing something which is very important this year. This year we're saying, hey, to a student, you can have our full suite of software which does everything the book does times 100, and it'll cost you about half of what the book would have cost. And if you want the book, we'll mail you a printed out version for $15. So we're really making our contribution to addressing affordability in a profound way. We're improving the outcomes, improving the product, and sharply dropping its price.
And then finally, speaking of profitability, you were spun off or sold to from McGraw-Hill to Apollo Global Management a few years ago. I think it was about $2.5 billion in that spin-off deal. So if you're successful in trying to get more people to open learning, will you go public once again, maybe as an independent company?
Well, that would be a very nice outcome. I think it's worth reflecting that the last 2 years have been kind of amazing for the business. I think that the stewardship that Apollo gave us the opportunity to really change many things in the company. And in a remarkably short period of time, we've really driven forward very fast around software and really changing the business. And as to the future, you know, inevitably, if you're owned by a private equity house, at some point there's going to be an exit. From my perspective, you know, coming to the market at some point, that would be great, but you know, that's for another day. The first thing we've got to do is actually make it all work and really deliver.
Thanks a lot, David.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you for watching The Street.